Hey everybody, Davey here from Davey's World Fishing. Today we're going to talk about fishing the frog. Everybody knows that topwater frog fishing is a lot of fun. It's an awesome technique. Personally, when I'm looking at the water, I see two different kinds of water. We're looking at frog water with cover on it and then open water. By cover, we're talking about grass mats, we're talking lily pads, any kind of structure that floats and sits on the very top of the water. And then open water, I consider anything that doesn't have any kind of covering on the top. So these fish will be hunkered down in the weeds below and they're gonna come up and explode on that open water frog that's skimming along the surface. That water with the structure, the grass mats, the lily pads, and everything else, you're gonna work it standard frog style where you're just gonna work it along the top. So in those two segments, I actually use two different techniques and two different setups, and I'll show you how I get those done. So what I'm fishing today is the FishLab Rattle Toad. These are awesome new frogs that came on the market. It's got a large rattle chamber that sits right in the head and a nice, easy bite down on these frogs. They come in 3 different sizes. Great little frog. But for those two techniques I was talking about, so if you're fishing water with structure, that grass mat, those lily pads on the top, I'll actually fish straight braid. I'm fishing the soft steel covert camouflage braid. This gives it a little bit of some hidden line to it, but I'll fish that directly to the frog. I don't know if you can see that there, but I actually tie that with a nice large loop knot, which gives that frog a lot of action. So fishing that directly to the braid, that's when I've got that surface water, that grass, that lily pads, anything that's gonna be on the surface, I'll toss that across and I'll work that back. So that's a straight braid setup. If I'm fishing open water, I fish it a little bit differently. So I'm fishing that same rattle toad, but I'm fishing it with a fluorocarbon leader. So I've got the heavy braid, but I've also got that heavy fluorocarbon. That's gonna give me some abrasion resistance, but it's also gonna give me that invisibility that you're looking for. On that open water, that frog, that line's not gonna be hidden by whatever's on the surface, so you need that frog to be a little bit more hidden, a little bit longer. So that's a straight tie to the fluorocarbon when I have that on that heavy braid. Two different techniques. It'll hide that, so the open water, you got the fluorocarbon, it's gonna hide that bait a little bit better. And on that straight braid, you don't need that line hidden as much because you've got all that surface structure, you're gonna work it along the top. That's two different setups that I'm gonna be using for the frogs. The rods, I'm using that 7'6" to a 7'10", heavy or even an extra heavy rod, so I can really work those baits. I do appreciate y'all checking in. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below and subscribe to Davey's World Fishing. I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you out on the water.